And she goes, I effing hate quilts. And he gulps. And because his clothes are so tight, we can see that lump go all the way down to the... Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to Soapfloor, the official gathering place for newbies, novices, and OG diehard fans of the golden age of primetime. I'm your host, Jet, viewing and reviewing the soapiest, suzziest primetime storylines of 1981. So whether you're new to this or true to this, sit back and enjoy. Tell kids it's time to play outside or out of sight. So bait no questions, suggestions, or concerns for the next 25 to 35 minutes. Everyone else in earshot, cool, quiet, or kicked out are your only options because we are watching our story. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this is Soapfloor. Hello, gorgeous. Miss me? Welcome back to another fun-full edition of Soapfloor. I am absolutely beside myself because guess what I did? I watched 2 episodes of my vintage primetime realness, and I don't know what I should do in between. I think this is what we're going to do. I watched Dallas and I watched Knots Landing. I think we're going to do Knots Landing first because I like to break it up. God knows where that's going to take me. They killed the main character last time. I sat and watched for real. So I have my hesitations, but I have a really good feeling about this. I watched that and I watched Dallas, and Dallas was so good that I thought I needed to break it up because I cried a little bit on the last episode because of my girl Sue Ellen. It is what it is. I'm not going to hide my feelings. This is who I am. This is how I feel. And we are back in the trenches, if you will. So go ahead and grab yourself something bubbly and bright, something cool, calm, collected, because you're going to need it as we venture into this 1981 gem. The party people, I know I told you that I like to break up the seriousness of some of the other soap operas with a little bit of Dynasty because Dynasty is camp. This has been a slow burn. I realized it hadn't been until about season 4 that this is really a thing. We're like, oh my God, they're giving us the lines. They're giving us everything I really want. I am cackling. I'm laughing. It is a joyful experience when I watch Dynasty. However, today Dynasty is not on the menu. We are watching episodes of Dallas and we're watching episodes of Knots Landing. There was something about the previous episode of Dallas where Sue Ellen discovered that Dusty wasn't dust. He was a real breathing person. I'm just not buying. This baby has crawled over these imaginary mountains and staked his claim in life. But I'm like, okay, I'll accept it. Only if I can see what's happening on the West Coast. Because as luck would have it, I feel like I'm not very far off with Knots Landing and Dallas. They seem to be about in the same realm. And I wanted to see what Pinhead, Gary, and his super extra medium outfits were doing on the West Coast. This is season 3, episode 6 of Knots Landing called One of a Kind. I'm quickly discovering I have a lot of favorites when it comes to TV. As a kid who got to sneak and watch TV and then pretty openly watch it and watch with old people, watch with young people. There are a few things just kind of tickle my fancy and I didn't realize it at this time. Number whatever, let's say 3, is a Christmas in July special, or if they'd air a Christmas special in the middle of the summer. I think I can akin that to growing up in the desert where we didn't always have a cold December. I feel like the older I get, that's changed a little bit. But as a kid, in Texas, you just never know. Like you get cold spells is what we would call them. So let's say you wake up in October, it might be 20 degrees that morning and 90 that afternoon. So you never really get the feel of a winter day or a fall day. Fall is a concept in Texas. Fall is when you measure football season, pretty much. But around December, I can admit it starts to get cold for real, more consistently. So when I started watching this episode of Knots Landing and it is Christmas and it is sunny outside and they're going over the top of the decorations, I fully understand that. If you're a Californian, if you live in Arizona, Nevada, Utah. I understand there's parts of Utah and Nevada and different parts of New Mexico, different parts of the Southwest. If you are at high enough elevation, you get to experience snow-capped mountains and a real winter, while the rest of us are just like, okay, we know what it is, but we don't know like that. Reference the snowpocalypse of 2021, baby. We were struggling. I know my Canadian brothers and sisters were struggling with that summer. We wanted to switch with y'all so badly, but you can only do so much. That's neither here nor there. This episode opens with lots of Christmas decorations, and one of the things I'm noticing is that Richard is still on his I'm the good guy campaign. He's over at Karen's. He's being that good guy. It has been 3 months approximately since the demise of Sid. By the way, if you were watching this or listening to this for the first time, I'm so happy to have you, but baby, this is not the episode to start on because I'm going to speak freely. I try not to spoil the entire episode when I give a title. I like to kind of change it a little bit, but don't do this one. Go back a few more or text me and I'll tell you which one to start on, okay? So on this episode, Richard is over at Karen's and he's just being a good guy. You can tell he just wants to make sure she's solid. There's not a man in the house and she's doing fine. Of course, she would be, right? This is soap opera land. You don't mourn any longer than you need to. Falcon Crest really don't give a damn. You die at the first 3 minutes, they stop talking about you by the last 50 minutes. But on this episode, we see him chittering with her, making one of those sort of popcorn wreaths. Now, this is beyond my realm of understanding outside of a Charlie Brown Christmas special. I didn't realize that was a real thing. I used to read Little House on the Prairie books. And I recall a special book where it was Christmas and this guy had come from like the East Coast and he wouldn't shut up about popcorn. I don't remember if they made garland out of it or not, but it reminded me of pre-K before I really knew what school was about. I was so pumped to get into school because I was a nerd. I could already read and I was really excited to get over there. And, as the seasons go by, on Thanksgiving, they make us dress up. And by Christmas, they're making us make these. In my mind, it was a necklace. It might have been a wreath. Y'all, they put Fruit Loops on yarn. What was I going to do? What, I'm going to say no? Obviously, me and all of my class ate the dry Fruit Loops and chased it with chocolate milk at lunch because that's what kids do. But it was refreshing to see Richard was willing to do sort of a daunting, sort of tedious task just to keep up with Karen. And she lets him know, baby boy, I appreciate this. But the big thing is she gets a call. And when she picks up the phone, it's her first boyfriend. Not just her first boyfriend, her first love. And she's all smiling like, oh my God, yes, I'll totally meet you. It'll be perfect. And Richard's watching like a little old lady, like, yeah. What are you talking about? Oh, you gonna meet him? That's your boo? That's your boo-boo? She's like, listen, I've only been with 2 men my whole life. This was my first love. He's not just my first boyfriend. He's my first love. He's going to be in LA soon. He wants to talk with me. Do you think it's too soon? We're just like, no, do what you got to do. He also mentions very casually that Laura is kind of doing the same thing he's doing. She is keeping Scooter, her boss, who's recently been left by his wife, who left him for a much younger man. They're over at his house, at Richard's house, decorating their tree. Now, one of the things I noticed right away, I'm not lazy, I just don't feel like doing it in this moment. I don't think that's the same Scooter because the Scooter I remembered was a smoke show. The Scooter I remember was a zaddy. The Scooter I remember looked like Victor Newman from Young and the Restless. And this man does not know shade. There's only so much room for a mustachioed baddie in daytime television, and he is not. But he is more than content to help decorate her tree. But she and not Victor Newman decide that they're going to wait for Richard to come in and bring the star. But Richard's like, I hate Christmas trees. They always attack me. He is not lying. I can recall one time at work, I'm putting a tree together with my homegirl. And when you have to fluff out, of course, this is an artificial tree. Let me just say that. We're trying to fluff out this 9-foot tree. And I'm like, what the hell is this about? It was terrible. I had scrapes all on my forearms. None of us could use hand sanitizer for a week. Then we had to go home and do our own trees. He's not lying. He's being dramatic. But this is the place and the time to do so on vintage primetime television. And I agree. So Richard is on his Good Samaritan, as is Laura. They're just walking their respective good friends through a difficult time. The ex's name is Teddy, and they agree to meet up the following day to go to lunch. And Karen is all smiles. She deserves this, right? Listen, there's no time frame on grief. There's no time frame on pain, but I don't see the harm in having a good time, especially around the holidays. So I am all for doing whatever you need to do in your day-to-day life to feel good about it. I was excited to see her moving on. Also, we got to move this story along. We're only on episode 6. I expect a breakdown or 2 in the near future, but Teddy shows up, and I'll be damned if Teddy ain't charming. I am glued to the screen. I'm hanging on his every word. He is intricate. He is fun. He is funny. He is serious. He is important. He's the kind of person that people flock to in a room. You want to hear Teddy talk. You want to see what he has to say. And his approval, dare I say it, is even more important. Now, Karen and he were back in their activist days, so they have a lot of memory. They're trying to walk to lunch in this stucco building, but across the street. Now, I was fooled. This is the shows I'm a millennial. I see these people across the street with picket signs, and what I thought they were advertising was a store closing, 70% off. You see those, and then you go in and everything's still $900. I'm like, I'm out. Please don't play in my face like this. I thought I was going to get a chair and a half and an ottoman for a reasonable price, and it's like $14 off. Quit playing in my face. Don't say nothing to me until they're about to put the chains on the door, okay? That's what I thought it was. No, it was a protest. But these people were mad lazy. I totally understand why he was like, oh my God, I can't even eat this Del Taco in peace watching these losers. So he goes over, he starts organizing. He like, chant something. H, no, we won't go. L, no, we won't go. Whatever. I can't remember what the whole situation was. He tries to cheer them on, to teach them, to coach them. And by the time he gets through all the rebel rousing, lunch is no longer an option. So they have to get a hot dog. Now, mind you, this is just a few days before Christmas. So Karen's like, okay, well, I can't really meet tomorrow. He's like, no, I can't really meet tomorrow. I'm supposed to eat with the governor. She's like, dang. He goes, you know what? Don't worry about it. Why don't I go to your house for dinner? And then I'll go to the party afterward. It'll be till the wee hours of the morning. People will be pouring themselves in bed at 4 a.m. I won't miss much. And your rubber chicken can't be any worse than theirs. I like me some Teddy immediately. So Teddy shows up to Karen's house. He's in a penguin suit, except without the jacket. He puts on an apron. He starts filleting the hens and whatnot. And he is so charming that you see that the Fairgate / what is Abby's last name? Don't F with me, Abby's family. They're all enchanted. He is so intoxicating. He is so fun. He is so warm. He is so personable. But the minute Diana walks in, he's like, hi. And they kind of freeze frame it. And I'm like, oh God, is this what this is going to be? So they have this whole dinner. And it is, like I said, you cannot take your eyes off this guy. He is magnetic. He is warm. I personally, as a viewer, I want to hear what he has to say. The kids all want to hear what he has to say. He's good with kids. He's good with hookery hoish women like Abby. He's good with widows, who happens to be his first love / ex. So they're talking, they're chattering, and he's extra good with Diana, which I'm like, oh, I hate this so much. Eventually, he's like, well, Diana, why don't you get dressed and you can go with me to the governor's ball? I think it'd be great exposure. And I'm kind of thinking to myself, that's really cute, because he's probably seeing Karen in Diana, is what I'm thinking. He's seeing a young Karen. Even though they look nothing alike, she probably has her mom's spunk, because God knows Sid, he's a corpse now, but he was dead long before they killed him on screen. I still want to know. I demand to know if he hooked up with the first woman mechanic ever. So anyway, Karen's like, yeah, go for it. Well, Abby don't know how to go home. You know what I'm saying? She's not used to responsibility, what have you. She's not good at reading a room. And plus, this is her family. You got to think about that. Abby's kids and her and Karen's family, they're family for real. They're leaning on each other extra heavy. It's only been 90 days. So they're in the kitchen putting things together, and Abby's like, dang, I didn't know Diana was going to get with your man. Karen's like, shut up, girl. What are you talking about? Abby said, wouldn't that be a great story that the daughter bags the mom's old boyfriend? Now, it is at this point that my senses are heightened. You could say my heckles are up. What are you talking about? Why is this a casual conversation? Diana is clearly 15. Karen is about 37-ish. What are you talking about? Why would a 37-year-old man with a 15-year-old be That's okay. It's probably a little late for this, but I just remember I had a little bit of fan mail I wanted to get to. We'll get to the Lily Mae part, but the Knots Landings fans are out in drones, and I am so excited. Someone told me that they actually met Joan Van Ark in person, and that she was one of the most refined women they ever met. I'm so sorry I don't remember your name. I'm doing this off of memory at the moment. Let me get to the comments. Someone else agrees with me. I guess they're watching an earlier episode about Diana being a total brat. I still feel like she is. I think I'm only giving her a pass because her dad. That's honest to God what I'm doing. Flashback to Knots Landing. Karen says it's cool for Diana to go to the governor's ball. Diana has the best time of her life. At some point, someone comes up and like, oh my God, is it your daughter? He's like, this ain't my daughter. And so it's implied that they believe that's his girlfriend, and they just sort of chuckle. Nobody blinks an eye at it. Like, what the heck? Starting to feel very uncomfortable. So the next day, Karen has time to sleep on it. Actually, she has time to sleep on it when he drops her off at like 4 a.m. So the next day he comes by because he wants to take her to lunch with a couple from Tokyo. He just wants her to be really cultured. But as she goes out to the car, Karen's a little bit different this season. She's still her. She's still very much her character. But she's got that sort of, she's unfadable. She's not really going to just break down a lot. She's going to pop off when she needs to, but she's not really breaking out. So she goes and she meets him at the car, and she's like, I don't think it's a good idea for Diana to go with you. She thought you were your girlfriend. It was a whole thing. I think she might be falling in love with you. So that's weird. Because isn't she my daughter? Karen gasped, and I'm like, wait, what? Totally did not see that part coming. He is fully convinced that Diana could be his baby girl. Ladies and gentlemen, this is why I am a glutton for vintage primetime soaps. What? Daughter? I wasn't thinking daughter. Before we jump back into Teddy and Karen, we need to talk about the other bit players. Now, this is where the rest of the fan mail comes in. Georgia gave me permission to use her name. She feels like Lily Mae's new name should be Lily Mae, I Play You My Mixtape, because she definitely seems... She goes on to say that Lily Mae is the 1981 equivalent of a 2020 SoundCloud rapper. I fully agree. She is delusional. She does not know her own worth. She's waiting to go viral. It's just not going to happen. Another name we got was the Country Con Heiress. And more than a few times I got just plain old trouble. So I think this is the OGs letting me know, listen, girl, you need to sit back and relax. Lily Mae is going to bring everything she needs to bring. I'm enjoying her as a con artist, but on this episode, I realize that someone else is enjoying her even more. Gary Extra Medium Ewing. So, like I mentioned before, it is Christmas time, and he comes home a little bit early one day. Lily Mae is hiding in the shadows. She's like, oh, damn, Gary, I thought you was Valine. What you doing, Lily Mae? Lily Mae is making a patchwork quilt, which I think is just so wholesome. It's so down home. I don't know if other countries do this, but I grew up around a lot of geriatrics, a lot of old women. I have several patchwork quilts, and I made the mistake of putting one in the dryer, and it fell to pieces, and my great-great-grandma had made it. I loved it so much. So warm in the winter, at least a Texas winter. But Lily Mae is going on and on with Gary about how much she got a scrap here from all the neighbors in the cul-de-sac. I just refuse to believe that there was this much throwaway fashion in 1980. Gary watches this, and he is just, as you would say in the country, he's plumb tickled pink. And I'm like, Gary, what is you doing? What's so funny? I don't understand what's so funny. But he finds Lily Mae totally amusing, which really pisses me off because it's like Valine had to endure Jock, Judgy Ellie, Cold Sue Ellen. Like nobody you know what? Another day, we'll talk about that. Okay, so later on in the episode, Valine is shopping for gifts for Olivia and whatever Abby's son's name is. She's looking for gifts for them, specifically Olivia, in this like vintage shop. Gary's like, just buy her, if you bought her a brooch, just buy her a box and let's move on. She don't want to do that. They come across this quilt and he's like, hey, what do you think of this? And she goes, I effing hate quilts. And he gulps. And because his clothes are so tight, we can see that lump go all the way down to the pit of his stomach. And he's like, You don't like quilts? That's peculiar. He goes, no, not really. So the Christmas, my father died. So her daddy ain't coming back. That's so disappointing. The Christmas my daddy died. My mama swore up and down she would come and get me as long as they could get me to this certain place. So let's say, she needed to get to Dallas and she's in like Waco. Y'all take her up to Dallas. I'll come and get her. So her neighbors who understand this baby girl is bereft, they put her on whatever they put her on. I like to picture Valine on the Beverly Hillbillies, their car that they built like extra, like a bunk bed on. I picture her on that. Don't judge me, because first I had her on the back of a horse and wagon, but I'm like, that's probably unrealistic for 1960. So she's on this Beverly Hills Billy car, and they take her 100 miles away to her Aunt June's. She's waiting in Aunt June's. Her mama don't show up. Her mama ends up sending a store-bought quilt to her baby girl during Christmas, during the bereavement of her father. Now, if you did not grow up south of the Mason-Dixon line in the United States of America, you might not be like, okay, that's no big deal. It's a gift, right? Yeah, sure, it's a gift. But it is a cardinal sin. If you say you're going to home make something and you don't, trust me, if this was real, people would still be talking about Lily Mae to this day. It is a cardinal sin. It is like bringing a rotisserie chicken to Thanksgiving. It is like bringing a Kool-Aid mix and spawning it off. Well, no, let's not go there. People are very forgiving in the South of a drink. As long as you can put the right moonshine in, it's fine. I know what it is. It is the equivalent of bringing Jiffy cornbread to Thanksgiving. It is the equivalent of bringing Kraft macaroni and cheese, the dinosaur shapes, to Thanksgiving. They gonna talk about you forever and ever and ever. You will not be trusted with anything. You can't bring paper plates. You can't bring cups. It is a whole thing. And her saying that, I knew exactly what she meant. And I'm like, Gary, if you're from Dallas, I am 40 years younger than you, dude. You ought to know what that means. You know exactly what that means. But he is tickled pink the whole episode. So he knows that Lily Mae has put together this patchwork quilt. He knows that Valine hates it. But what does he do? Nothing. That's what Gary does. So I suppose he's being the voice of reason this episode. I can go ahead and admit I didn't want to kill him this episode. I'm going to let it ride because it's Christmas. However, they want to do caroling on the neighborhood, and it's like Ginger, Kenny, and baby Aaron Molly, and then the neighborhood children, kids I didn't really recognize. But Lily Mae's like a SoundCloud rapper. I'm not going to miss my shine. Let me jump out there lest someone is recording from Hollywood. So she jumps out there with her little fiddle diddle diddle thing. And she is singing. And Valine is trying her best. And this is my thing. Valine has been more than accommodating her entire life. I'm sure of it. Through the span of Dallas and Knots Landing, she's been more than accommodating. So she does it. She's like, I don't want to hear this shit. I don't want to go out there and listen to my mama sing with the kids. Because it's supposed to be the kids. And Kenny and them are out there because they have a kid. But Gary's like, well, just think about this. If your dad was an old fogey, he was an old man when he married a 14-year-old girl, knocked her up, and then a real little girl came. And I said, pause, Gary, pause. 14 is still a little girl, but we're not going to go there. I can't judge you for what you did back in the past, but I'm totally judging you. He's like, she was looking for attention. That's what she's been doing this whole time, unfortunately. Never mind the fact that Valine was left with a corpse. Never mind the fact that Valine was waiting for her mama while her mama was out chasing dreams. Never mind the fact that this woman has come in and out of her life willy-nilly and she's had to maintain a sense of steadfastness. But of course, Gary wouldn't understand that, would he? Because she does the same thing for him. Valine decides to be the bigger person, much to my chagrin, and Lily Mae does present her with this I'm not going to say raggedy, with this hand-sewn, allegedly, quilt. And something in Valine's sweet Vidalia heart just says, okay, mama, I have it. Vidalia's heart is a blooming onion from Outback, which is a fantastic idea. I wish more people did that. She lets her have it. I love this, mama. This is the best gift. And I guess in Valine's mind, she's like, okay, you finally made good on something you promised me. So I'm just going to sop it up like a a buttery biscuit and syrup because I need love. And God knows I ain't really going to get it nowhere else. So I might as well just focus on you. Now, normally I'd leave a little something out, but I'm not going to this episode because it was just too damn good. So you remember Laura. Let's run the facts on Laura. Laura was a housewife. Her husband starts banging Abby. He bangs Sid's ex-wife. He is skeezy, sleazy, and slimy all around. But she's okay with that. She decides, you know what, I'm going to get a job at a lingerie shop and help pay off our mortgage. But only she stumbles into like a real estate company. And turns out she's really good at it. She could be, if it was 2025, she'd be on Selling Sunset. She's that good. So she's been helping her boss, who is more of a mentor. It's very clear that he saw something in her. I choose to believe there was no deviance here. It wasn't that he was hitting on her. He just saw the potential, and she's so good. She's a natural. The kid's a whiz. So they develop a friendship, as happenstance would have it, because he's such a workaholic and a chronic cheater. His wife says, you know what? F it. I'm going to take my 47, but I look 97-year-old self, and I'm going to hook up with this 28-year-old. 20-year-old has to look 60. If she looks 90, he definitely looks 60. They move off into the sunset together. In my mind, they buy a house with the money that she has quietly squirreled away during her marriage. But Scooter is just devastated because, damn it, I can cheat on you 90 times. How dare you cheat on me one time? Not just cheat. You cheat and leave, which isn't really cheating because you're not continuing together. That's a rather intelligent form of that argument. We won't go there today. So he's been spending more time with Laura. And that's okay with Laura because they both admitted that they would love to have an affair, but the friendship is far too valuable. So this episode, it just slips. Scooter is so pleased that Laura doesn't have an automobile of her own. He offers to pick her up and take her anywhere she wants to go, which is probably grocery store, work, school, home. That's probably it. And he does just that. And one morning, they share a passionate kiss in the car. Now, my girl did not look upset by that kiss. She definitely didn't tell her husband, but what could he say? You have been boning Abby. Abby's still coming over here asking you for legal advice. So if she dibble dabbles in a little scooter rooter, who are you to say anything? So Christmas Day comes, and perhaps I'm easily awed, but she wakes up and there is a ribbon. If you go to Hobby Lobby or to Michael's and you buy ribbon's mad expensive. This is probably at least 2.5 inches wide, and it's draped across her lap. I think there's a note. I can't remember. It doesn't matter. She wakes up and she follows the ribbon all the way down the stairs, all the way past the tree, all the way under the front door, down the breezeway to the driveway where the ribbon finally attaches to a bow. Y'all know my Roman Empire is cost of living of a go. Oh my God. I don't even want to go there. It's easily $300. Easily, if not more. Probably more. Probably like $500-$600 of this good silk ribbon. It's draped perfectly. I can't stress that enough. There's no bumps. There's no nothing. It is beautiful. So when she gets outside, it's like, I think it's a Monte Carlo. I had never seen like an 81 Monte Carlo, but I think that's what it is. It's like a powder blue Chevy or Buick. I don't know what the Buick version of that is, but it's a coupe. It's light blue. She's like, oh my God. Richard and Jason are outside and he's like, let's take it for a spin. So they get, and mind you, there's still ribbon on a car that goes horizontally and across the doors. So there's tons and tons of ribbon. They all get in and they take it around the corner for a little spin. Of course, the unnecessary ribbon drapes off. When they get back, right as they get back, sadly, Scooter pulls up in a Mercedes. Looks like Ewing number 3. And he's like, hey, Merry Christmas. Now, here's the thing. Laura wakes up in a pink negligee. By the time she hits the door, she's in a blue robe. We'll let that be what it is. That's the editor's fault. It is what it is. But when Scooter shows up with a Mercedes, Richard is like, Yeah, keep it. Laura feels weird. No, I don't want to do this. This is weird. I'm sorry. I don't want to do this. And I don't want to do this. Scooter apologizes to Richard by saying, listen, I'm so sorry I did this, but I do this for all of my top sellers. Your wife has sold over $5 million worth of houses. She was going to get this car one way or another. I just thought Christmas would work. I didn't realize you had something planned. I just wanted her to get around. Now, I thought when she talked about not having a car while Scooter was giving her a ride to work, I thought that's really useless considering Sid is your next door neighbor, or was, but Gary's still there. Why wouldn't you just hit them up and be like, can I get a loaner? You know she could have got it. But it doesn't matter. This is a much more dramatic storyline. So by episode's end, Richard's like, listen, if you don't keep it, I'm always going to walk out and see the blue car and think about the other car you could have had. My thoughts are, why can't she have both? Huh? Maybe that was taboo in 1981, but in the year of our Lord 2025, girl, yeah. Especially if you had a hoopty that broke down, you need options. Now she has a weekend car. Okay, let's bring it all home. Teddy shows up a couple more times. On one time, he shows up to Laura and Richard's Christmas party. He brings a fantastic gift, so everybody likes him. He then tells Diana, hey, could you give me a drink? Now, the whole little joke is we don't know if the eggnog is spiked, but he's like, just make mine just like yours. He says, Karen, have you had a moment to think about what we talked about the other day? She's like, I need a little more time. But the tea is he actually came over on Christmas Day. And the story he told was very devastating. So at the beginning of the episode, he explained he didn't realize that Sid was dead. Karen did not realize that he was divorced. So they kind of revealed this to each other as they're walking arm in arm before they had to coach the protesters. He explained that he and his wife have been separated for about 6 years. He sees his kids summers, the usual summers, holidays, birthdays, that sort of thing. He gets them some weekends and stuff like that. On Christmas, though, he's a little more open, and he explains that had been going on for a little while. His kids are like 11 and they're very little. They're under 13. They're over 8, under 13. And he picks them up at LaGuardia Airport. And his kids are like, let's just make a clean break, Dad. Our stepdad wants to adopt us. We think we should just make a clean break. And I'm thinking, what are you talking about? So he asks them to elaborate. And they say that if the stepdad wants to adopt them, they don't really like traveling like this, just sign over your rights so that he will adopt us. Now, I'm immediately pissed. I'm in my 2025 Karen era. Excuse me? Those are children. First off, their mother is a cow word. Heavy on the cow. How are you going to put these babies up to this? You let the babies tell them, man, why didn't y'all call them before we pay money for these tickets? It ain't about the money. That's irrelevant. There is an anticipation. There is a hope. He has planned out things to do with his children. He has been anticipating this. And you let the kids be like, yo, just count our stepdad adopt us? Hell no, he can't adopt you. Matter of fact, now I'm going for joint custody because why? He's not abusive. He's not a drunkard. He's busy. Kids are going to be fine with busy parents. We all adapt. Think about it. If you were an elder millennial like myself, Gen X, we were fine. We were left alone so many times. Yes, I have imaginary conversations all the time, but you know what? It makes me an articulate speaker. I was just gobsmacked, and Karen had found evidence. She was in her feelings a little bit when he was like, well, couldn't it be mine? Because the tea is that Karen had been with him all this time, right? She only got with Sid, who was about 7, 8 years older, to make Teddy jealous. And they had a rekindling of sort, an entanglement, if you will, after she had gotten with Sid. The next thing you know, she has a baby. So he's in the back of his mind always thought, okay, this is my baby. And now she's like, well, damn, no. She sleeps on it. She wakes up and she's like, no. If that was a possibility, I would have hit you up a long time ago. That's not a possibility. So she started flipping through all the paperwork because all he says is just look at the dates. That's all I'm saying. So she looks at all the dates and she didn't get anything there, but she looks in a family album. She sees a photo and she's like, ha, here's your proof. So she was going to go downstairs and rub it in his face, but then she hears him telling that story and she's like, damn, that's literally the worst thing ever that could happen. Worse than my husband dying is my kids saying, I don't want you to be my parent anymore. It sucks. So eventually they have a one-on-one and he's like, just tell me it's a possibility. And she does. This is an awkward situation, but I don't know. This is your personal morals. I don't think there's any harm because I believe he knows she's not, but it gives him something to hold on to. This is a man that she has trusted. This is a man who, by all intents and purposes, seems like a good person. If he wants to believe that, yeah, okay, could be a possibility, you can do that in 1981. Can't really do that after probably 2001. You really can't. So by the end of the episode, Karen is very honest. She and Diana are in her bedroom. They're chittering. And Diana's like, yeah, this Christmas was better than I thought. Karen says, no, I understand what you mean. And then she opens this photo album. And it's one of those pictures that I feel like went crazy. Late 90s, early 2000s, where you dress up like a Western sharpshooter or something. It's a Victorian picture of a woman who looks identical, and I mean spitting image because it's her, of Diana in this glorious feathered hat. It is very much Gilded Age, very much I'm wealthy, but I don't want to tell anybody. They see it, and this is Sid's great-grandmother. So Karen's like, okay, I don't really need DNA. You look exactly like this woman. Wouldn't happen if Teddy was your dad. Fantastic episode. That's an interesting dilemma, though, right? Like, I've watched so many daytime talk shows about paternity tests, but you never really hear about the paternity test people don't want to have because they kind of already know the truth. So do you guys think that's wrong? Is it wrong to withhold that information, or did she do the guy a solid? After all, he was giving them something, she was giving them something. Sometimes relationships are transactional, and Teddy is a stand-up guy. All right, that's it. That's all for this episode of Folklore. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have, because we are going to jump right into Dallas, which I thoroughly enjoyed, probably for all the wrong reasons. In the meantime, in between time, girl, do a DNA test immediately after conception or after the baby's born. Do it quietly, do it quickly, lest you be embarrassed 15 to 16 years later. The stutter step is embarrassing enough. The fact that you thought it could have been his was embarrassing enough. Stay hydrated, stay moisturized, mind your own business, and keep all of your drama on TV.